My laptop broke.
Grab your wine. It's time for Rosé All Day and Juleigh's a Mess, where we talk about current events and living in an intersex life. And now, here's Juleigh.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rosé All Day, Juleigh's a Mess. I am your host, Juleigh, and let me tell you, it has been a wild ride since last time I had a live episode. I couldn't even tell you what number this is. I want to say it's episode 26 or 27. The last couple of the weeks have been hectic. You may have joined us last week with Ethan Chandler from Orlando. We had a quick and brief version of Rosé All Day while I was in Orlando, Florida for Orlando's Come Out with Pride, which was amazing and exceptional and mind-blowing and just a great weekend had by all. And they did a great job pulling together Pride for 2021 in Orlando, Florida. Normally at the beginning of the show, I would introduce a rosé, but I barely have 2 nickels to rub together here in Savannah, Georgia, and I have relocated here recently, and so wine was not on the menu for tonight. Plus, I've been really stressed and my throat is starting to hurt, so I am having tea tonight. What's the tea, you may ask? Also joining me this week in my, look, y'all know me. I normally have this great little studio set up. I'm currently in a boarding house in Savannah. What you see is what you get. And I tried to make it a little homey for this episode, but it's more homely. So here I sit. I just made the joke that I look like shit today. And my guest, Logan Gaudet, said, he, not me, looks like shit every day. And I thought, oh, that's not true, but we can be shit together. We'll be shit on a cracker together. So I'd like to welcome everybody that's currently watching and joining us. Thank you so much. I've missed all of you. Logan, you're my guest this week, all the way from, I want to say, upstate New York, if I'm correct.
Boston.
I may not be correct. It may be. Look, my mind is a puddle right now. But Logan, tell everybody how we know each other and where you're from.
Well, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, so close. And we know each other because you started doing educational TikToks about what intersex was, and me and my wife were very interested because she knew more about it than I did, and I just started asking you questions, and then you started actually doing some reply videos to some of my questions. Well, I'm sure I wasn't the only one asking them, and then we just started talking and became Facebook buddies, and before I knew it, we were kind of friends.
Yeah, that's how it works. There's not a stranger I've ever met. Ever.
And there's nobody stranger than me.
Well, we're going to find out more about you as the show progresses. Right now, we're going to go into current events. Look, I usually plan ahead. Sometimes I don't. This week has been really crazy. This morning was super crazy because I got up and went to a food bank because until I get my benefits in Georgia, we're doing the food bank thing. I missed, first off, walking into a food bank. There's no shame in it, right? Everybody needs help every now and then. But, it's a low for me. No, I don't want to say a low for me, but it's a situation I've never been in before. And so I went into this food bank, and literally the first thing out of the reception's mouth was, "You don't look like you belong in here." I'm not going to say the food bank. I'm not going to give them credence or but it triggered me. I took it in a negative way, and I thought everybody needs help now and then. now and then again. And then they said, well, we do groceries by appointment, and you missed the cutoff today. Our next appointment is next Tuesday. So I was like, okay, well, I'll figure it out. They were like, do you want to make an appointment? And I was like, no, maybe somebody else can take that slot. Hopefully by next Tuesday, I have work and I have food in the kitchen. So I said, hopefully I won't need you next Tuesday. But thanks for your help today. Anyway, getting back on track, because I tend to run off on tangents, Logan and everybody else that's listening, was looking at some current events right before we went live. I'm kind of horrified at some of the things that are going on in the world, if not our country. One of the first things is a lot of people know that there has been a manhunt the last couple of weeks for Gabby Pietro's fiance, Brian Laundrie. Just read a story about how a young man that resembles Brian Laundrie was in North Carolina with his girlfriend this past weekend when the U.S. Marshals knocked on his hotel door and stormed his room, accusing him of being Brian Laundrie. And then a U.S. Marshal supposedly touched the side of this gentleman's head and said, look, he has the same indentation. They're both using credit cards from New York. This gentleman clearly not Brian Laundrie. Can you imagine being in that situation and being accused of being somebody you're not in a very heated situation like the current one going on?
I mean, that's pretty intense. I would probably be needing a clean pair of shorts after that. I'm sure guns were drawn and everything, you know?
Yeah, he said pointed right at his face. He said he was dragged out into the hallway in his underwear. His girlfriend was visibly shaking in the room. They had been hiking the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina since September, and they decided to take a break and get a room in this lodge in North Carolina for one night, for one day. And they checked in, and this poor couple, they check in, and the U.S. Marshals stormed their room and said, well, somebody from the hotel took a picture of you on a telephone.
Okay.
And compared it to a picture of Brian Laundrie on the telephone, and we just assumed it was him.
Well, we all know what assuming does. It makes an ass out of you and me. Or in this case, it's probably going to make the gentleman that was mistaken for Brian Laundrie probably a wealthier guy, because he's probably going to sue the crap out of them. And sure, he's going to win. But the only thing that's going to suck is the possible traumatic, post-traumatic stress that could happen from such an incident.
Well, and not a surprise that the news outlet said, reached out to the U.S. Marshals, heard nothing back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no.
They're smart, they won't comment, publicly, because they're in defense mode now, I'm sure, and they're just waiting to be served with papers, I'm sure, from a lawyer. And once this story hits the news like that, there's probably 40, 50 lawyers calling this guy, emailing him or anything else any information they can get, and paying off the clerk at the front desk at the hotel to get his information.
Oh, I'm sure. And it was in the New York Post of all places. So I'm sure people are tuning in.
What's funny is that a case of mistaken identity like that 20, 30 years ago would have been, nothing would have come of it. But now, in today's political climate and social climate, this guy's almost certainly going to probably end up suing them and winning. And maybe that's good in one sense, but in the other sense, I feel like law enforcement's really been taking it on the chin for the last year, don't you?
I do agree with that. I do feel like they have been, I don't want to say getting a bad rap. There are certainly, in every situation, we know that there are good things going on and there are bad things going on. There are, but they certainly have, all law enforcement has certainly been getting slapped on the wrist lately. And in my opinion, in some cases, absolutely needed. But in some cases, not. And it's, not to sit on the fence, but it is definitely a heated climate. it's definitely changing. I don't know if it's changing for good or bad.
Well, I think that part of it is social media having an impact. I mean, if I see another TikTok or YouTube video where it's a cop asking a person for their ID, and because they watched the other 500 videos, why do you need my ID? Well, I don't have to give you that by law. And they're just giving the guy a hard time just to give him a hard time. When really all the guys
I don't agree with. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's total. I don't know if I can swear, but I think it's total BS. And
you can swear. I say cock on here all the time.
Oh, well, I think it's total
I don't know if that's appropriate, but
I think it's total bullshit. I mean, just when a cop asks you for your ID and they're just trying to make sure everything's okay and everyone's safe, and you haven't done anything wrong, just show him your ID, and then he's probably going to go, okay, Mr. So-and-so, thank you very much. Have a really great day. And, you'll probably be on your way. Instead, they escalate the situation, and you're being recorded. It's like, Jesus, they're probably recording you too. The last time I had an encounter with local police, which was per my request, the whole conversation was taped on body cam, and which I wanted, actually, because I needed advice from the local police about a personal situation, and they came by, and everything's on film now. So it's like yelling. I don't know. It just, that whole thing just drives me.
It's everybody protecting everybody. It's the police department protecting their own. It's people wanting to be protected and knowing that their incident was documented. I mean,
well, I've seen situations where video recordings have hurt a case, and I've seen situations where they've helped a case. I've seen situations where you've only got one camera angle and it captures part of what happened, which makes the defendant look guilty. And then come to find out later, there was more that happened that wasn't on camera, that was witnessed by witnesses, and they end up being exonerated, hopefully. But so it can help you, or it can also hang you. I've seen people hang themselves with video footage.
I want to take a moment and say hi to two of our guests that have joined us in the comment section. For anybody watching live, you can always comment, and we will always try and acknowledge and wave to you or say hi to you, or somebody from the Just Julie team will reach out. I wanted to say hi to Charles Richardson, who we know better around here as Charlie. Hi, Charlie. And Yasmin Jade 75. Hey, Julie and guest XX. So, guys, thanks for commenting on our stream right now. And the more the merrier. So feel free to chime in, and we will read your comments as well. The other story that we were going to talk about, there are actually two that caught my eye, but one that I just read, which is, while we're on the subject of police, Tampa Bay, Florida, just, I think last night, a 52-year-old man on a Harley Davidson was switching lanes. You know how a lot of states are doing nighttime construction, and a police officer was helping to close down one of the lanes of traffic, hit the motorcyclist, ejecting him from his motorcycle into the road, at which point he was run over by a tractor trailer and killed.
Woo!
That's a lot to process.
Yeah, that is not great. And I drive tractor trailers for a living, so I've dealt with and seen a lot on the road, so I'm pretty experienced in this one. And I do construction, so on the roads. Yeah.
I mean, you probably could tell us some harrowing stories too, just about cars whizzing by you and not slowing down and not following the speed limit. And I mean, it's bad enough at night. And I know, look, from the side of somebody that's not in construction and hates driving at night, and nobody likes being slowed down, but I really wish people would really make a committed effort in these zones to slow down and be more cautious. Now, in this case, I don't think it's on the tractor trailer driver. I think the situation falls with, unfortunately, the officer that clipped the motorcyclist, but we don't know the situation fully. We just know what's being reported on. It's just difficult at best, and it's scary, and I just think people should slow down.
So for educational purposes of the viewers, let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
How much roundabout would you say that you think your pickup truck weighs?
Lolly, my pickup truck right now, roundabout, I would say she's probably, I don't know. I know tractor trailers are hard to slow down and stop. I think that's where you're going. But I would say my truck Lolly, she probably weighs, I don't know, less than an elephant.
So to give you an idea, an average four-wheel vehicle, we call us truck drivers call you folks on the road four-wheelers.
Four-wheeler.
Yeah, an average four-wheeler weighs anywhere between 1,200 to 3,000 pounds, give or take. Larger vehicles a little bit more, and then you've got your bigger vehicles like I have a 15-passenger van for my wife and kids, and that weighs 9,995 pounds unladen. So that's considered a 1-ton vehicle or whatever they call that.
Please tell me you're starting a band and you painted the side of your van like the Partridge Family.
Well, I mean, you're not far off. I'm in 2 bands, and the logo to the band, the biggest band, is already on the sides of the van.
I love it. Hey, 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 done. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, get happy.
Oh, it's so sad what happened to him. Keith Partridge.
So sad.
He had Alzheimer's at like a really young age. Anyway, I digress. So that's an average vehicle weight, anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 pounds. My tractor and trailer, when fully loaded, weighs around 108,000 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So 108,000 pounds. So that's like gluing together like, 10 or 12, 15 cars weight wise. Now, one of the things that people love to do to truck drivers for some reason is, well, 2 things. Number one, when you're on a 3-lane road, tractor trailers can't be in the far left lane. So the middle lane is our left lane. So if we're in the middle lane and we're riding your butt, we're not trying to ride your butt. We're probably coming down a hill heavy, and we can't just hold our brakes down because the brakes will overheat, they'll burn up, and then we'll have no brakes. So when we look like we're riding your butt, what we're actually trying to get you to do is to move over to the right lane so we can go by. We can't get in the left lane to go around you in most states and on most highways. If it's a 2-lane road, 2 lanes each direction on the highway, we can get in the left lane. But if it's 3 lanes or more, we can only be in the 2 right lanes. So, that's one thing for knowledge. And number 2, I'm 108,000 pounds. When people pull in front of me because they're aggravated about whatever and decide to brake check a truck, hey, you're going to lose because I can't stop. I could be standing on my brake pedal and I can't stop like a car or a pickup truck.
No, it's going to be like bumper cars at Six Flags.
And if your car's small enough, I might just go up and over you, and I don't want to. It always seems to be, by the way, just as a side note, in my personal observation in the Boston area, it always seems to be smart car owners that drive the stupidest. Just saying.
Well,
I don't know if they thought buying the smart car would make them smarter. Are they drinking smart water too? I don't know. But
maybe. It's so sad, though. I mean, in regards to this story, Just Julie wants to we want to extend our thoughts and condolences to the family of the 52-year-old man, but also to the driver of that truck. He is 25, and I would imagine probably a young trucker, and that's something he's never going to forget. So our thoughts and well wishes go out to all parties involved, even that trooper from Tampa. Okay. I was going to talk about a random death of 3 people at a Fish concert in San Francisco, but I know it's October, but that's just a lot of death in one episode. So we're not going to talk about that.
People puppies and
moving
rainbows?
on. Huh?
Can we talk about puppies and rainbows now?
Yes, right. Puppies and rainbows. Absolutely. Okay, so now we're moving on and we're doing well on time. We're moving into a part of the show called Juleigh's a Mess. This is where I tell a story from my past. And you, as somebody that knows me, gets to finish how you think the story ends. I think because you're from Boston, I'm going to tell my Boston story.
Okie dokie. It should be a good one.
This should be a good one. This is a good one. Okay? This is a good one. I think it's a good one. I don't know. Now that I think about it, I think it's tied right into what we just talked about. So it may not be a good one. But okay, for those listening at home, here we go. So back in the day, I used to work for a circus, a very popular circus, one of America's oldest running circuses. And part of our tour schedule was being in Boston. And we would be in Boston for, a week or two, a couple of weeks. Usually they are corresponding right around with the Boston Marathon. Sometimes our production team would make spaghetti and do a carb up dinner the night before the marathon. And the runners would get to run through our big one ring circus tent right down in Government Center. A lot of things that happened this particular week. I witnessed my very first public suicide that week. I had been on lunch break and I was in the purchase. I was part of the purchasing team. So we purchased and located and sourced kind of everything that we needed to have on hand while we were in Government Center. And we actually had 2 lots. We had the A lot, which was where the tent was right down in Government Center. And then we had the B lot, which was kind of where our crew would stay. And purchasing, we'd shuttle people back and forth, and then we'd run out during the day and get what we needed. And I was on lunch break and I'd gone downtown to try and get something at Dunkin' Donuts, and I watched somebody step off the roof of a building in town, and that was just horrid. Anyway, that week had been really rough, and I went to go help out. I had started in the circus as a butcher for one of the merchandise carts. And we had 2. And I have so many stories about the merchandise cart. And I also, after working in a merchandise cart and a food cart at the circus, I don't really, partake in circus food when I love going to the circus, but I eat things that I bring my own snacks. I'm my own snacker. I'll put stuff in my purse now and take it to the circus and be like, yay, the circus. But I'm not eating a green hot dog. So anyway, I decided to help out. They were really busy in the circus, at the circus this particular day in Boston. And I decided to help out in one of the food carts. And we were having a day. Look, the guy that ran the cart had not great customer service skills. He was an old Navy sailor. He cursed like a sailor. He had the patience of an old Navy sailor. On occasion, once a woman was holding up the line at this particular cart, and she was asking questions about the cotton candy, and she wanted to know if there was milk in it. And she was holding the line up. And when you're a barker at a circus, your job is to get people in and out and back into the arena so that they can partake in the circus. It's not a long show. It's not like Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. So this woman was holding up the line, and this particular manager said, "What's the effing hold up?" And this poor kid in the cart was like, she wants to know what the ingredients are in the cotton candy. She wants to know if there's milk in it. And the guy said, "There's no effing milk in it. It's fucking spun sugar. We're not baking a cake, lady." Like, so here it is, a family show and a family circus, and this is kind of what's going on. So, this kid had been assigned to go get ice for the snow cones. And the ice trailer was behind the horse trailer. And it had been a day. It had been a day. And it was taking this kid forever to get the ice and then take it over to where you grind the ice to make the snow cone snow, which you would think they'd have that in the food cart, but these carts are small. So anyway, all of that was located behind the horse trailer. And you living in Boston know how windy that city gets.
Yeah. For sure.
Windy. Like, we're talking wind tunnels, like, and that wind rips right through you, right? So this poor kid, and they hired a lot of temps at the circus. This poor kid, I go to check on him. And he said, "What's the hold up? You know, it shouldn't take this long." And I said, "I'm here to help. How can I help?" And the kid went, "Well, I almost am done, but the wind picked up and some of the hay and horse excrement from the horse trailer blew into the ice grinder and it's contaminated."
Hooray! Horse cones.
You know me.
Oh,
I would think, after following me for a while on TikTok. What do you think I did? Finish the story for everybody.
I think you probably did your best, like always, and tried to do everything you could to make sure it was as sanitary as possible. But I get the feeling some people had some extra horsey goodness in their snow cones that day. Or no snow cones at all.
I'm a professional.
True.
And there are a lot of kids at the circus. Now, look, there are a lot of people in my life that I absolutely, especially recently, would be like, "You can eat shit." But I can't do that to kids.
Shit, yeah, that'd be the problem. Hay is not a big deal, but the shit, that's kind of the problem. Yeah. That would just
I mean, I can't do it.
I'm going to guess that you just shut the whole thing down.
Chris and Wade said, "Hey there, Miss Mom." Well, here's what I did. I mean, time was ticking. At first, I tried to scoop it out thinking whatever was on the bottom sediment of the cooler would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought, well, I'll help this kid out. We'll scoop the top off. We'll start with the bottom sediment, and then we'll just make new ice. But that was not, I think once I started to think about it, I was like, no, it's in the ice. Like,
it rolls downhill.
You can't, like, I can't serve this. So I brought a cooler back, and then the manager that had made that comment about the cotton candy was like, where's the GD ice? We need ice for the snow cone. I was like, you're not going to be able to sell snow cones. Like, this is what happened. And he was like, what do they know? You know, and I was like, this is horrible. So I went out and reground ice for his cart, and it took me like 10 extra minutes, and I couldn't be at my cart, but I told my cart, we're not selling snow cones. And everybody that came up, I kind of was like, go to the next cart. But even then, I was like, we're not doing snow cones. And so that particular day, it was green hot dogs and dried up popcorn for the masses. But I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, but then I was like horrified because I was like, do people really serve this? I mean, when this happens, because it couldn't have been the first time it happened.
Just going to say, there's no way that's the first time.
I thought, I guess the moral of the story is don't eat a snow cone at the circus because you're not really sure what you're getting. The moral of this story is eat packaged products. I'm sure the circus has great stuff, but eat stuff that's prepackaged. Get yourself a Kit Kat.
Well, if I may interject here a little bit.
Interject.
So before I did construction-based trucking, I used to do general freight. And right in Everett, Massachusetts, which is one of the boroughs of Boston, we have a factory that makes almost all, no, actually, like every brand of peanut butter comes out of this one factory. Like, it's in Everett, and they make Teddy, Jiffy, the store brands, like everything. They make everything
in one factory.
Yeah, there's just one factory. It's one of the biggest peanut butter distribution warehouses and manufacturing in, I think, in the United States, but I could be wrong on that. But I know the biggest one in New England for sure. So
basically, you're saying every peanut butter company, it doesn't matter what you buy because it's all going to taste the same. It's all coming out of the same factory.
Well, when I was waiting for my truck to be loaded, which was going to take some time, and I was there for about an hour and a half, one of the facility gave me a hairnet and a beard net. Yes, beard nets are a thing. I had an argument with my wife about it. Those aren't real. They are. There are beard nets. And I got a tour. Well, first of all, Skippy, the store brands, and like all the peanut butters that are basically do taste the same. There's a reason for that. They are the same exact formula, and they just have different labels. Peter Pan, all of those. The only ones that actually are different are Jif and Teddy peanut butter. They use molasses in those instead of sugar. But the reason about packaged food is I watch them packaging the food, and I just want to ask you a question. Do you know how many fly eggs and fly larvae are allowed in a jar of peanut butter before it doesn't pass the FDA and government requirements for being sanitary?
I mean, before you tell us, for everybody listening at home, if you like peanut butter, I am sorry because this is probably about to ruin it for you. But go ahead, Logan. Tell us how many fly and larvae is allowed to be in a jar of peanut butter before the FDA removes it from the shelf or production. That's what you're about to tell us, right?
You know what? Let's have some fun with this. You guess a number, and I'll tell you higher or lower. How many fly eggs do you think they can find in there with an inspector before they say you can't sell or distribute this batch? Go
16.
Ahead.
16.
Keep going.
23.
Keep on going.
52.
Keep on going.
I'm never eating peanut butter again.
We'll just go with it's a lot.
I mean, tell us. You know, what's the number? Tell us. Let's say it.
I believe it was somewhere in upwards of 150 to 200 fly eggs or larvae that they could find in a single jar of peanut butter before they would shut down that entire batch. This is what life is. And that's just one example of a food item that I've picked up that was prepackaged, where when you know what's behind door number 2 or door number 3, you might not want to eat that product anymore. But here's the other thing too. And I'm just going to say this. Eating a fly egg or fly larva is not going to harm you. It's just simple proteins. I mean, you can survive off eating bugs. So you're not really going to know about it.
I mean, true. Here's what I'm thinking as you're telling me the story. First, to answer Yasmin, she wants to know what are green hot dogs. So hot dogs were made in a boiler in the circus food cart, and the water would turn like a green tint in between shows. And so the hot dogs, the longer they sat in the water, would take on the color of the water. And so they became like a brownie green. And then they were in the foil and stuffed in the bun ovens so they would cook. So by like intermission of the second circus, and the circus had like 2 shows on a Sunday, the hot dogs would be green. Also, Yasmin was close. She guessed 100 for the fly larvae. This is what I'm thinking, Logan. Like, I have a friend that's on the radio in Lincoln, Nebraska. Her name's Joanna Baresh. Her daughter was singing a couple of weeks ago. Her name's Philo, and her daughter was singing the peanut butter jelly song, like peanut butter and jelly, right? And all I can hear is Philo singing that in my head and singing peanut butter and fly larvae, which is disgusting. So thanks, Joanna, for that. And that's gross. But at the same time, it also made me think of The Fly, the very popular movie with Jeff Goldblum. And then that made me think of all the women that have had Jeff Goldblum, and they've had tons of fly larvae inside them. So, I mean, yeah, you're probably right. Can I say that? Yes, I can say that because it's my own show.
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. And an apartment. Now that he's on Apartment Guides. Flies come with apartments. I need to know apartment.
You need to find yourself an apartment at apartments.com. It's so extravagant.
Oh my gosh, Logan, who knew that you could do Jeff Goldblum impersonations? I love it.
I knew. I
love it. Maybe we're going to have a show of maybe later when we ask 5 questions, you can do some answers as Jeff Goldblum.
I can do them with Jeff Goldblum. I can do a lot of impressions. I've been doing stand-up comedy for over 18 years, so impressions is one of my things.
Well, we're going to have you do a few in just a few minutes, so pull out your best. The peanut butter thing, that is gross. That's gross. And I'm a big peanut butter fan. And peanut butter is in everything. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to eat an Uncrustable again. Or a Reese's peanut butter.
We could dip green hot dogs in peanut butter and eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That sounds like such a good, fun afternoon. Botulism at its best. I'm there for it. JustJuleigh.com. Julie's a mess. Green hot dogs and fly larvae peanut butter. Look, that I just want to. I haven't eaten dinner tonight, and I'm like, guess I'm having ramen. But then you think, if peanut butter can have that much fly larvae in it, what else can have that much fly larvae in it? I mean,
and fly larvae is pretty benign. I mean, there's way worse things than that. But I won't ruin anything else for you. Is
that considered vegan? Fly larvae? Is that considered vegan?
No. No.
Yasmin said, I wonder how many come down with food poisoning. Well, not from fly larvae.
No, not typically. Most genus of fly that you'll find their eggs or larvae in food products are, again, they're very benign, and they're just basically domestic house flies.
I mean, think about it. When you go to a family picnic, think of all I'd always heard at picnics, whenever flies land, they're laying eggs, or I was told vomiting as a kid. I don't know how truthful that is, but that's why I stay away from the potato salad at family reunions. I can't do it.
Well, that's why we have those little mesh with like a wire frame thing that we put over the plates at the barbecue, because we don't want, as people in Boston would say, we don't want fucking flies on our fucking potato salad, kid.
Right? I love it. I love Boston and Boston accents and everything about Boston. I have lots of Boston stories. Yasmin said she meant the green hot dogs. She said, I meant the green hot dogs with the food poisoning. It's a circus. It's a toss-up.
Yeah, circus food.
And many days. I would stand in there and eat the hot dogs because we got to eat the hot dogs. Like, it was just easier than paying for it. You know, that's how we would pay our temps. And I would always be like, what color are the hot dogs? Okay, I got to get one before they turn green. And I mean, I'm strange. I am not a big ketchup girl. Occasionally I like mustard, but on my hot dogs, I like mayonnaise, a little bit of mayo. And so I would stand there and put a little bit of mayo on there, cover up the green. If there was a little bit of green, a tinge of green, it was okay. But Yasmin, I gotcha. But that's why I say eat packaged food. But obviously now, nope, don't do that either. Just don't eat. Just go to the circus and watch the acrobats fly above your head and don't eat.
I'll tell you the best advice that you can take is eat as much unprocessed food and as much food if you can grow your own vegetables and fruits and, you know, eat as much unprocessed foods as you can, for not just for the reason of sanitary reasons, also for health reasons. I mean, we're not supposed to be eating scallops wrapped in bacon. I mean, if you think about it, if we were living as ancient man, how many times would you find and kill a pig and get bacon from it and then happen to get some scallops, then wrap them together and cook them? You know, so try to eat more natural foods, less processed stuff, less crap out of a box, and you'll probably generally just do better.
Yeah. And or be like Timon and Pumbaa and just eat grubs and mealworms. And, you know.
What a wonderful phrase.
I love it. This one's gushy and gooey. I say eat more bugs. Not really. I couldn't do it. Okay. So we are moving right along with the delightful Logan Gaudet, who does all these impressions. We are moving into a segment I call 5 questions. This is great. So usually it's 5 questions. It can be about us. It can be about you. It's probably going to be more about you because we only know each other through Facebook and TikTok. But maybe some about me. So, you know, because it is my show and I like to boost myself up. So question number 1, you mentioned that you've been doing stand-up comedy. How long have you been doing that?
Around about 17 or 18 years. I mean, really my whole life I was the class clown, but professionally since I was in my late teens, and I'm 30 something now. So yeah, a good while in the Boston area.
Where has been the top place you performed thus far, or had the ability or the chance to perform at, and where's somewhere that you'd love to perform?
So, probably the best moment I had was way back when I went on to try out for Last Comic Standing. And we're talking about the incarnation when it was Buddy Hackett was one of the judges. And to some of you folks out there in internet land probably don't know who Buddy Hackett is, but if you're an old comedy
who he is.
And so I got to go try out in Boston, and then I think I went to either New York or Rhode Island for the stage 2, and those aren't televised. They are recorded, but they're not televised. And I got through to go to LA, but unfortunately I had a extremely controlling and jealous girlfriend at the time who told me if I went to LA that I would probably cheat on her with some large-breasted blonde bimbo, because you know every fake boobed blonde-haired bimbo in LA is just standing by LAX going, you know what I'm waiting for? Like a chubby comedian from Boston with no money and like zero prospects to come here to do one reality show. That's what I'm waiting for, and he has to have a girlfriend, and then I'm going to just totally steal him. So I didn't go, and I regret it. I only went through the first 2 phases, and but that was the best because Buddy Hackett said I was funny, and Buddy Hackett's funny.
Buddy Hackett is funny. He had a long career, and for our younger viewers that may be watching or joining us or listening, Buddy Hackett was the voice of Scuttle in 1989's Disney's The Little Mermaid. So Pat Carroll was the voice of Ursula. Scuttle was voiced by Buddy Hackett himself. So when you listen to Scuttle in some of those very iconic scenes in that Disney film, you clearly know it's Buddy Hackett if you know his career, but you get to hear kind of and see some of his talent just in the scene that's coming to mind for me is when Ariel's asking Scuttle what a dinglehopper is. And you can almost totally hear Buddy Hackett in that moment being like, it's this, you know. So that's Buddy Hackett. Okay. And then did you tell us where somewhere you want to perform?
I mean, I would really like to perform like at the Laugh Factory or one of those other iconic clubs like that. I'd like to go out to LA. That's like my dream, to actually go to LA, even if it's just for like, I don't know, a month or two, and just go do open mics and comedy clubs and just try to see what happens. Don't know when that'll happen, but you know, I'm a family man now. So, but I would like to do that someday.
What, out of all the impressions you do, who do you think is your best impression? And can you give us a taste?
Well, so like I have like a top three, I guess. Goldblum's more of just like a fun one to do, and I've never really tried at him too hard. I've done him a lot in the last 2 years, and people said it was pretty good. No, thank you. I do a very good Donald Trump, and whether you love him or hate him, I can make him say whatever you want, which is fun. But I'd say that the one that gets the most laughs on stage is I'll do Joe Pesci incorrectly describing a woman's anatomy. That's the best impression I get.
Let's hear it. Here we go. Joe Pesci incorrectly describing the female anatomy. Mr. Logan Gaudet, you're on.
Hey, how you doing? Joe Pesci. Good to meet you. All right, so listen. First thing you got to know about a woman, right? They got a vagina down there, okay? All right? They don't got a penis. They got a vagina. Now, part of the vagina, they got a clitoris, all right? And you got to find the clitoris. You got to please the clitoris. Otherwise, you're not going to moisten up the opening, which is known as the vulva, okay? You got to get the vulva nice and moist, all right? Then what the man can do is he can slide his penis into the vulva, making contact with the clitoris with his groinus. At that point, the woman may have an orgasm. When she achieves orgasm, you know you got it for life.
Very good.
Don't forget about the clitoris, all right? And this is for all the youths out there. All you youths, you need to know to please the clitoris.
You youths. The
youth.
youths.
Yeah. You know, the young people, the youths.
The youths. I love it. I feel like my friend Blair, when she finally watches this episode, she's gonna laugh at that. I just kind of feel it. Very good. That was Joe Pesci inaccurately describing the female anatomy. I love it. I think that's question 4. So let's see. Question 5. What's your you have kids. What's your what is a big misconception about parenting?
I think a misconception about parenting.
I don't know where that came from.
No, it's good. It's a great question, actually. I've got 8 children, and they're ranging everywhere from 6 years old all the way up to 28. And I think a big misconception about parenting is, well, there's a few big ones. One, that you're always going to like them. You're not. In fact, some days you're really not going to like them at all. You're going to always love them, hopefully, but there are many days where you will say, wow, my kid so-and-so is being a little asshole today. And number 2 is that when they become adults, you're done being their parents. And no, you're not. My 28-year-old called me today and needed my help. And you know what? That's your job. So you do your job. No matter how old they get, they're always your kid, and you'll always be that much older than them. So even as they get older, you're still that much older, and you know that much more, hopefully, and you're probably that much wiser until you get to a certain age, and then it all kind of goes downhill. But yeah, that'd probably be like the two biggest ones I can think of off the top of my head.
That's so true. And it actually reminds me, I probably need to call my parents. I've been putting it off for a couple of days because I've really been going through a slump. And my mom always has this way of noticing that I'm going through a slump, pulling it out of me, and then kind of throwing it back in my face. So I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to call her right now. I don't want to call her. But those are so true.
Yasmin says, let's hear some Trump. I just saw.
Yeah, she's saying, let's hear some Trump. I guess give me one of the best things about being a parent in your Trump voice. Please make sure it's not saying kissing your daughter Ivana.
All right, listen. I have to say this. I'm a really great father. I'm one of the best fathers. Nobody's a father like me, okay? And the best thing about being a dad is that sometimes your children, whether they're from America or China, I don't care if they're Chinese or American, they can make you feel absolutely huge. They can inflate your ego and your sense of self-worth until you feel just tremendous, absolutely tremendous. It's one of the best feelings in the world, and trust me, I know about feelings. Nobody does feelings like me. I'm the best at feelings. Sometimes people say to me, Logan, how do you have so many feelings like this? It just seems like you know so much about this. And I say, maybe I'm just built different. I don't know.
I love it. Good job. Yay. That was good. I think for me, Pesci was really good. I think I still kind of like Goldblum. Sometimes the best impressions sometimes are the ones that just come easy and you don't have to put a lot of thought into them. I feel like Trump, you'd have to put some thought into your inflection and your voice. Goldblum seems really easy for you. Like, I love it. It also reminds me I need to look for an apartment.
Jeff is just very, very soft-spoken and very breathy, and a lot of pauses to reflect on what is one is trying to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, can you quote from Jurassic Park in your Jeff Goldblum?
Life finds a way. That's probably my favorite Jurassic Park quote of his. It's just life finds a way.
I like the one he talks about where he's like, yeah, but if you get off the ride at Pirates of the Caribbean, the pirates don't eat you.
Yes! That's a good one. Faster, yes! Must go faster, must go faster.
I'd be a good Laura Dern, I feel like. I'm just kidding. So now we're coming to the end of our show, and it's been so much fun, and it's hard to believe we're almost at the end. But Logan, tell us about yourself. You told us you're from Boston. You told us you're in construction and you have 8 kids. Is there anything else that you would like our viewers or listeners to know about you, or where can maybe they find your comedy, or what's going on?
Okay, so since COVID's happened, I haven't done a lot with it, and to be honest with you, I've been focusing more on music before that. Anyway, if you want to hear some of my music, you can find me on Facebook. I have 2 profiles, one where I'm dressed like Rob Halford and one where I just look like a dad. Request the Rob Halford one. And number 2, you can go on Facebook and find my band page. And there's a lot of stand-up comedy in between songs that I do with the band. The band is called, get ready for this, Candy Striper Death Orgy. That's Candy Striper Death Orgy.
I feel like I'd be really good at that job, honestly. And I'm in stripes tonight. I feel like it's appropriate.
Hidden Candy Striper Orgy.
Hidden Candy Who knows? Maybe I am drinking. Maybe there is wine in this teacup. Hidden Candy Striper Death Orgy. That's Julie's new band with Logan Gaudet.
If you guys like Slayer and bands like that, you would like us. You know, not screaming and all that, just but very aggressive music, and it really gets the anger and aggression out of you from all the crap you deal with all day.
Yes, yeah. Maybe I should start doing Slayer music. That may be so appropriate. We have come to the part of the show where the guests that I have on each week get to ask me one question about what it's like to live life in an intersex body, or maybe about my intersex journey. In doing this, I get to answer the question from my friend. It's often a question that maybe they have never understood maybe how to approach or ask or put into words or a sentence, but this gives them a chance to ask. It gives me a chance to answer. In answering for them, I answer for a friend, but I also am able to answer it for everybody that's listening at home. I also want to remind people that October 26th, next Tuesday is the 26th. My guest will be a longtime friend, Charity Gill. She is one half of the wonderful singing duo, Gilly and the Girl. They have some great music out there, and she's just a joy and a talent. She also was Elphaba in Universal Studio Japan's version of Wicked a couple of years ago. She's just a joy, and she will be our guest next week. October 26th is also Intersex Awareness Day. So that will be a big episode for us. Please tune in next Tuesday for that. But Logan, the floor is yours. What question do you have for me this evening?
You've answered so many for me, but sometimes I think maybe I should ask one of those because it'll answer the question for others, like you were saying. Actually, here's an interesting one I don't think I've ever asked you. Did you experience an existential crisis when you were ultimately you were basically medically forced to transition from one gender to another, so that you didn't die, which we're glad you did, and we're glad that you didn't die. We're very thankful to have you here. I think everybody would agree with me on that. So was there an existential crisis in changing your clothes, your hair, the way you looked, doing makeup, etc., and going from being male to female?
For me, not so much. I think the blessing in disguise for me, literally and figuratively, is that I had done drag for many years. And I learned in my 20s kind of the art of makeup. I ended up being a counter manager in cosmetics at Macy's in New York and New Jersey for Club Monaco Cosmetics when they first started to come out on the scene. They were a clothing store. They had brought makeup out at one point. I'd always kind of been around makeup. So for me, that was not hard. I also have felt split my entire life. So when I was growing up, I would find myself in my mom's closet and I would put on a pair of her maroon peep-toed shoes and walk around in those. And I remember I was telling somebody the other day, back in the day when I was super skinny, I would take our big blankets off my mom and dad's bed and I would wrap it around me like 6 times. And then I would take my mom's elastic belt and belt it. And then I'd throw the top up over and make a big hoop skirt. Like fashion and makeup has always been a part of my genealogy, if you will. And so for me, the crisis was not so much figuring out how to dress and be more feminine, because I'd always been feminine. I've always been feminine. And working at Disney and doing drag and just being in kind of the ideology that I was in, even growing up, that was not hard for me. I think the crisis came for me in that I have a heart and care a lot about the people around me. And I was 43 when that was presented. My parents had raised me male because they didn't know any better. You know, we were in the same storm, but different boats. I worried about what it was going to do to them. I worried what it was going to do to my siblings. I worried what it was going to do to my nieces and nephews. I think the crisis for me was how do we do this? How do we do this as a family? How do we do this as a group? How do I do this among my friends? Who's going to support me? It was a challenge in that regard. The crisis came there, you know, and thankfully, you know, I was raised Christian. My parents had taught me a lot about faith growing up. I'd watched my mom go through some very debilitating issues in her life. My dad's always been right at the forefront of faith and trust, and, you know, you were created in his image by him, and that there's no mistake in that, and that we're going to breathe, and we're going to take the steps that we need to take to further your life and to kind of fulfill that. And so for me, that crisis was just trying to navigate all of that. But thankfully, I have a family that loves me, and I have parents that support me and adore me. And that's not to say that we didn't have issues. That's not to say that we didn't struggle. That's not to say that we're not still struggling on some level. I think every family and every dynamic has struggles, but that was the crisis for me. It was not so much the other, because I taught myself the other, and I'd lived the other my whole life. So for me, it was kind of a seamless blend aesthetically, but emotionally, and just, you know, kind of figuring out the dynamics of how my family was going to react and treat, and kind of what they were experiencing. And I still do that. I still go, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Or how are they going to think? Or how are they going to, you know, I've always thought about other people first. So for me, that was the crisis.
Well, in response to that, I'll tell you that there's nobody that should be more important to you than you, and how you feel and how you live your life. Because at the end of it all, when we die and pass away, all we have is our lives that we know for certain. And all you have, I'll say, all we have is today, right now, this very moment. It could be over tomorrow. It could be over in 15 seconds from now. You could turn this camera off. I could say goodbye to you, and you think you're going to see me putting silly TikTok videos up tomorrow, and I'm gone. So having said that, I think it's important to care about others around you, but make sure that you're caring for yourself above anybody else. That includes when you have children, by the way, and that's a misconception that I didn't mention earlier. You got to take care of yourself above all others, because if you're not taking care of yourself and something happens to you, you can't take care of anyone else, children and family included. And that's something that a therapist actually pointed out to me, because I was running myself ragged 120 hours a week, driving a truck, trying to take care of my family. And I was sick, and I was getting post-traumatic stress syndrome, and I was vomiting all the time, and just having all kinds of stomach issues. And she said to me, you got to take care of yourself first. I said, no, the kids first. No, you first, because if you drop dead, who's going to take care of them? And that goes with your family too. So, you know, care about them, but try to turn down the volume on worrying about what they're going to think, because at the end of the day, this is your life.
Right. I agree.
And you have to carpe diem, seize the day.
You have to grab the peanut butter with all the fly larvae in it by the balls.
You gotta
spread it
grab
on your sandwich.
You gotta grab her by the clitoris and never let go.
Yes. Thank you,
As
Joe.
I like to say in my tour bus, you know, sometimes these women, you just grab them by the life. Grab them by the life and don't let go.
Yo, you Utes, grab them by the clitoris.
And remember that life finds a way.
It does. And on that note, we are ending. Logan's going to join me in the green room behind the stage just so I can thank him for being a part of tonight's show. Remember to join us next week as we have the very talented Charity Gill on. I can't wait. I call her Mama Chestnut. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. It is Intersex Awareness next week. And then I have another new person joining us on November 2nd that I met today. I'm very excited about that. A very important person. So, God, I feel like I'm speaking like Trump now. A very important person.
Absolutely huge, tremendous person.
So we are off. Thank you so much. Follow for more content on justjuleigh.com. Thank you for your love and support always. And thank you, Logan, for being a part of tonight's show.
Thanks for tolerating my bad jokes. And guys, find me on TikTok and Facebook too.
Absolutely. And we're going to post that link for you as well, Logan. I'll see you in the green room. Bye, everybody.
For more content, follow justjuleigh.com. That's just Juleigh, JULEIGH.com. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for joining us this evening. Join us next week as Juleigh tries a different rosé.